Legend-class cutter, also known as the National Security Cutter and Maritime Security Cutter Large, is the largest active patrol cutter class of the United States Coast Guard. These vessels can be used for a variety of tasks, including environmental protection, search and rescue, fisheries protection, ports, waterways and coastal security, counterterrorism activities, law enforcement, drug interdiction, defense operations, and other military/naval operations. Their characteristics include a 4,500-ton displacement, 418-foot length, a 54-foot beam, and a draft of 22 feet. Propulsion is a combined gas and diesel with two 9,900 horsepower diesels and two 30,000 horsepower gas turbines. They have a speed of over 28 knots and a range of 12,000 nautical miles. Their crew consists of 14 officers and 99 enlisted men. USCGC Bertholf, WMSL 750, is the first Legend-class maritime security cutter of the United States Coast Guard. She is named for Commodore Ellsworth P. Bertholf, Fourth Commandant of both the Revenue Cutter Service and Coast Guard. In 2005, construction began at Northrop Grumman Ship Systems Ingalls Shipyard in Pascagoula, Mississippi. She was launched on September 29, 2006, christened November 1, 2006, and commissioned on August 4, 2008. The cutter's home port is Alameda, California. Bertholf is the lead ship of the Legend-class cutter design and the first large ship to be built under the Coast Guard's multi-year deepwater acquisitions project. On March 3, 2016, Bertholf responded to a sighting off the Pacific coast of Panama of a semi-submersible narco submarine. The semi-submersible surrendered to a boarding party launched from Bertholf, and 4 suspects were captured along with 6 tons of cocaine. The boarding party then sank the semi-submersible. On March 25, 2019, USS Curtis Wilbur, DDG-54, in concert with Bertholf transited the contested Taiwan Strait. USCGC Waesche, WMSL 751, is the second Legend-class cutter of the United States Coast Guard. Waesche is named for Coast Guard Admiral Russell R. Waesche, 1886–1946. Waesche graduated from the United States Revenue Cutter Service School of Instruction in 1906 and was commissioned an ensign. He served with distinction in a succession of diverse and increasingly responsible Coast Guard assignments at sea and ashore. He served as Commandant of the Coast Guard from 1936 to 1945 during a tumultuous and eventful period in the life of the service. He was the first Coast Guardsman to achieve the rank of Admiral. On November 6, 2009, the Coast Guard took delivery of the Waesche. She arrived at her home port at Coast Guard Island, Alameda, California on February 28, 2010, and was commissioned on May 7, 2010. Construction began in 2008 by Northrop Grumman Ship System Ingalls Shipyard in Pascagoula, Mississippi. The keel was laid on July 20, 2009. In August 2011, Stratton completed sea trials. On September 2, 2011, Stratton was acquired by the Coast Guard. On March 31, 2012, Stratton was officially commissioned by the Coast Guard in Alameda, California. On July 18, 2015, Stratton intercepted a semi-submersible loaded with approximately 16,000 pounds of cocaine. Stratton was able to offload more than 12,000 pounds worth, an estimated $181 million, before the craft sank. It is estimated to be the largest such seizure of its kind. On June 13, 2019, the Stratton departed for a Western Pacific patrol in support of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, where the cutter would operate under tactical control of the United States 7th Fleet Commander.
USCGC Hamilton, WMSL 753, is the 4th Legend-class cutter of the United States Coast Guard. She is the 5th cutter named after Alexander Hamilton. Construction began in September 2011 by Northrop Grumman Ship System Ingalls Shipyard in Pascagoula, Mississippi. The cutter's sponsor is Linda Caprell Papp, the wife of Coast Guard Commandant Robert J. Papp, Jr. Hamilton was launched on August 10, 2013. She was delivered to the Coast Guard in September 2014. The cutter is homeported in the city of North Charleston, South Carolina, at the old Charleston Naval Base. In January 2020, the Hamilton became the first NSC to participate in a Navy Composite Training Unit exercise, For 3 weeks the cutter integrated with the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower and Carrier Strike Group 10. After operating with the Carrier Strike Group, the cutter patrolled the eastern Pacific Ocean in support of Joint Interagency Task Force South. The cutter returned in April after the 80-day patrol throughout the eastern Pacific Ocean and offloaded $324 million worth of cocaine and marijuana. USCGC James, WMSL 754, is the fifth Legend-class cutter of the United States Coast Guard. USCGC James is named for Joshua James, 1826–1902, a U.S. life-saving service station keeper credited with saving over 600 lives. Construction officially began May 14, 2012 with the ceremony marking the cutting of the first 100 tons of steel. The cutter's sponsor is James' great-great-niece, Charlene Benoit. She is the great-granddaughter of Joshua James' brother, Samuel James. James was launched on May 3, 2014. She was christened August 16, 2014 and was commissioned in Boston on August 8, 2015. James served as a command and control platform in San Juan, Puerto Rico, September 25, 2017. The cutter's crew deployed to aid in Hurricane Maria response operations, and the ship's communications capabilities were used to help first responders coordinate efforts on the island. USCGC Munro, WMSL 755, is the sixth Legend-class cutter of the United States Coast Guard. Munro is the second cutter named for Signalman First Class Douglas A. Munro, 1919–1942, the only Coast Guardsman to be awarded the Medal of Honor. The U.S. Navy destroyer escort USS Douglas A. Munro, DE-422, was also named for Munro. Construction officially began on October 7, 2013 with a ceremony marking the cutting of the first 100 tons of steel. Munro was launched on September 12, 2015. On June 18, 2019, the crew participated in capturing a narco submarine carrying 17,000 pounds of cocaine. The total amount of drugs seized was valued at over $569 million, representing one of the largest drug seizures to date. Coast Guard personnel jumped aboard the still-moving submarine and forcing the hatch open SND, leading to the surrender of the submarine's crew. USCGC Kimball, WMSL 756, is the seventh Legend-class cutter of the United States Coast Guard. Kimball is named for Sumner Increase Kimball, who was the organizer and the general superintendent of the life-saving service from 1878 to 1915. Original planned commission ceremony was on January 19, 2019, but ceremony cancelled due to the government shutdown. On August 24, 2019, Kimball was commissioned in Honolulu with USCGC Midgett, WMSL 757. The cutter is used for services in the Pacific. USCGC Midgett, WMSL 757, is the eighth Legend-class cutter of the United States Coast Guard. It is named in honor of all members of the legendary Midgett family who have served in the U.S. Coast Guard and United States Life-Saving Service. 7 members of the Midgett family have been awarded the Gold Life-Saving Medal, including John Allen Midgett Jr. and Rasmus Midgett. Ingalls Shipbuilding conducted its Sea Builders trials for the cutter on January 22 and February 12, 2019. The cutter underwent acceptance testing conducted by the U.S. Navy Board of Inspection and Survey from March 25 to 28, 2019. Ingalls Shipbuilding delivered Midgett to the U.S. Coast Guard on April 30, 2019. Immediately upon receipt, the Coast Guard placed the cutter in commission special. The cutter made her final sail away from Ingalls Shipbuilding on June 11 and she commenced her maiden voyage. On July 25, 2019, during the vessel's transit to Honolulu, the Midgett seized more than 2,100 pounds of cocaine from a low-profile vessel in international waters in the eastern Pacific. On July 31, 2019, the Midgett seized more than 4,600 pounds of cocaine from a second low-profile vessel, their second cocaine bust in 5 days. Midgett arrived in her home port of Honolulu for the first time on August 16, 2019.
The Coast Guard cutter Stone, a Legend-class national security cutter, currently under construction by Huntington Ingalls Industries Incorporated, recently transited across the shipyard to the dry dock, then launched. Stone is the 9th NSC built by Ingalls Shipbuilding. The ship honors Coast Guard Officer Commander Elmer Archie Fowler Stone, who who made history in 1919 for being one of the 2 Coast Guard pilots to successfully make the first transatlantic flight in a Navy seaplane. Stone's great niece, Laura Cavallo, officially christened the ship. He joined the U.S. Revenue Cutter Service as a cadet at the Revenue Cutter Service School of Instruction on April 28, 1910. Elmer Stone was a United States Coast Guard aviation pioneer. On March 28, 1916, he was assigned as a student aviator at the United States Navy Flight Facility in Pensacola, Florida. The same year, he also studied aeronautical engineering at the Curtiss factory. On April 10, 1917, Stone became the Coast Guard's first aviator upon graduating from flight training at Pensacola and was appointed as Coast Guard Aviator No. 1. The Coast Guard has announced that the 10th Legend Class National Security Cutter, NSC, will be named for the first Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, Master Chief Charles Luther Calhoun. Master Chief Calhoun volunteered for service with the U.S. Navy in 1943. Aboard the escort carrier USS Lunga Point, he experienced firsthand the toughest battles fought in the Pacific Theater, Leyte Gulf, Luzon, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. USS Lunga Point was awarded the Presidential Unit Commendation Award for extraordinary heroism and action against enemy Japanese forces in the air, ashore, and afloat. After being honorably discharged as a torpedo man second class on February 21, 1946, Calhoun enlisted as a boatswain's mate second class in the U.S. Coast Guard on September 20, 1946. During his illustrious 30 years of active service, Calhoun served 14 years at sea, including a tour aboard the USCGC Point Orient in Vietnam. On their first patrol, the crew sighted and exchanged fire with an enemy company of soldiers ashore, becoming the first Coast Guard cutter to fire a shot in that war. On August 27, 1969, in a somewhat quiet, yet monumental moment in our service's history, Calhoun assumed the watch as the first Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, a position he held from August 2, 1969, until he retired on August 1, 1973. He crossed the bar in 2002.
The U.S. Coast Guard is naming the 11th Legend Class National Security Cutter, NSC, WMSL 760, in honor of Elizabeth Smith Friedman. Friedman was a pioneering codebreaker for the Coast Guard during the Prohibition era and World War II, serving within the Coast Guard Cryptanalytic Unit 387. She has been dubbed America's first female cryptanalyst and in many ways could be considered the founder of the modern-day Coast Guard intelligence program. Her work with the Coast Guard began soon after the passage of the Volstead Act, which prohibited the manufacture, sale, or trade of alcohol in the United States. Liquor smugglers frequently made use of radios to coordinate their activities and began to encode their messages. Friedman was detailed by the Department of Treasury to the Coast Guard, thus beginning a remarkable career. Between 1927 and 1930, she is estimated to have solved over 12,000 smuggling messages in hundreds of different code systems, all by hand, with just pencil and paper. Her work led to 650 federal prosecutions and she personally testified in 33 cases. During World War II, she was part of the team that broke the codes generated by the formidable Enigma machine used by the Germans. She exposed a ring of German spies in South America, effectively denying them a foothold in the Western Hemisphere during the war. Her cryptanalytic unit eventually moved from Treasury and evolved into the modern Coast Guard intelligence program. Only recently was her legacy fully appreciated when a journalist researched declassified papers to learn that she was pivotal in the German Enigma machine code breaking as well as the customs prohibition operations.